Welcome to the Lifting Lounge podcast. Join your hosts, Josh Parkin and Jack Buffery, as they give you the knowledge and the tools to take your physical and mental performance to the next level.
Afternoon.
Was on, all right?
Yeah, man. I am. I'm actually chipper. I feel
Chipper?
quite good. Yeah, I'm chipper. I'm in a good mood, and I'm slightly appalled by just humanity at the moment. And it has something to do with all the reels you've been sending me.
I was going to say, well, you're in a good mood, but you're appalled at humanity. But
Yeah,
no, I
it's
get
like
it now.
it's one of those juxtapositions that's happening in my head. It's like, wow, this is all hilarious, and I'm laughing on the outside, but I think on the inside, I'm dying along with humanity.
Oh, mate, it's fucked up, isn't it? I mean, I am up there with one of the worst algorithms on Instagram.
I would say you're correct on that. Before we get into how much of a bad person you are, though, we are going to quickly run through today's episode. And the fit tip, is I need to change the wording on this so I can actually say the right things. You know what I mean? My just a tip is about negative drivers. My current news is about Flash and zombie novels. I thought I'd get this out of the way before Christmas gets too close. In Fit Talk today, we're going to talk about our current training because I think it's very different from both of us since last time we spoke. Study time is talking about how all-nighters can rewire the brain. And the hot topic today are things you learn about yourself when you start training. But guys, please like, subscribe, and do all the funky stuff so you never miss any of the stuff that we put out. And also check out the RDAsystem.com to learn more about the RDA System app because it is the one-stop shop for all your goals, all your resources like stress and sleep protocols, as well as nutrition, over 100 recipes, all that good stuff that you can just become the next version of yourself on. But moving on to you again, Josh. Why are you such a bad person?
I just hate everyone, really. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And basically a misogynist, I think. That's essentially
cool.
it.
Well, it's a big word for you.
No.
I'm impressed.
Mate, at least I could spell it. So, yeah,
Go
I'm
on
all right, Jack. I'm not going to do that. Shit.
Yeah.
So, how have you been? What's your day been like? What have you been up to?
My day today has been quite good, actually. I've been quite productive, and I don't want to go too much into what I'm experiencing today because that's going to come in the fit talk in a bit. But yeah, I've had a relatively good day. I've just had leftover beef shin stew that I made last night, barbecue beef shin stew at that. But there wasn't, when you're looking at something, this always happens the night after a takeaway. If you leave a bit of takeaway and you look at what you've left and you think to yourself, that's not quite a whole meal, though, is it? And you're slightly disappointed. You either should have left more or just eaten the whole lot in one go, which is usually the option I go for. But the same happened with this beef stew earlier on. So what I done, I fried off a load of bacon bits and cut up 3 chipolatas and fried those off and then mixed it in with the beef stew. And it was delicious.
Well, I got home and I was running around like a madman because I thought I was recording earlier than what was happening. But I got home and my mum and my gran are here replacing my curtains. And have you ever ate potato hash?
Potato out my ass?
No, potato hash. So corned beef hash, some people call it.
I might have. Something similar with mince, maybe not with corned beef. I think. Yeah.
So it's essentially like a poor working class northern meal, right? It's
Nice.
just like you use corned beef, or you can just use mince and then like potatoes and some veg, or just mixed into like a mush. And I got home and Mum just pulled out of this bag a box of potatoes. She's like, "Oh, here's some potato hash." I went, yes,
amazing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're so delicious, and you say like poor working class stuff and what have you, but they can be a perfectly balanced freaking meal. I remember ages ago, an episode of God knows, like probably back in the 40s, if not earlier. I was telling you about my new favorite thing, which was doing it with sweet potato or normal potato, just grating that and then mixing it with eggs, minced beef, or whatever meat I had, and then putting those in the air fryer. And they're just amazing. Perfect amount of carbs, perfect amount of protein, good amount of fats depending on what meat you're using as well. So yeah, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's so fucking good, man. It's so good. So yeah, I'm doing all right. Work this morning. I went to a shop called Truro Tractors, right? It sounds like they just sell tractors.
As Cornish as it is.
My God, it might be the shop of my dreams. If anybody knows anything about garden machinery or forest machinery or anything like that, if anybody knows what the brand Still is, it's a famous like chainsaw brand. They have a wall of just Still stuff.
Nice.
And they have everything you can think of for everything. And I was like, I could lose a lot of money in here. I could lose
and a lot of limbs. We used to use a 36-inch bar on the chainsaw when we were doing forestry work in the thingy, which is just insane. Like wielding this thing. The guys I worked with were ginormous. They were born and bred farmers, both like 6'5", 6'6", and like weighing, I don't know, 120 odd kilos each. And he just used to throw this thing around like it was fun. And I was like, you're an animal.
Yeah. I was just getting a new chain for my chainsaw, but that, oh, wow. So cool in there.
I get like that around tools. I don't even know what I'm going to build, and I still get like that around tools. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to build, but I could build so much.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's so funny. And you just end up storing dust in your garage. So, Jack, my tip sometimes can be quite negative, and it's not a good driver either. I've tried driving with my tip, and it's not as mobile as a hand, I would say. So, how can you help my tip not be as negative and be a better driver?
I would say if you go into a pub, they usually have those machines that used to be condom machines, but now they have little blue pills in there as well. Yeah, quite. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's just a tip, and it is just a tip. Work out what your negative drivers are. Now, you should all know by now what RDA stands for. RDA stands for results, drivers, and actions. Excuse me. Now, the results are the goal you have. The drivers are why you have them, and the actions what you're doing to get them. Okay, but this doesn't just work in the positive; it also works in the negative. And this thought struck me yesterday or the day before, whilst I was in a mid squat, and I was like, I said to myself, and I wasn't going to quit, but I said to myself, "God, just make this the last one." And I instantly thought to myself, why am I asking that? What are my drivers for that? So I know what the results are. The results are so I can stop making it suck because I don't enjoy squatting very much. But what are the real drivers why I'm asking this myself? And it was a negative driver. It's just like, it was literally because it was sucking and I wanted it to stop. Like, because I was being a little bitch ass pussy. That is as simple as that. I was being a little bitch. I was complaining to myself. And if you can catch yourself complaining to yourself before you stop, ask yourself what your drivers are for why you're complaining about something, for why you don't want to do something. And mine was just beginning, it wasn't hurting necessarily, it wasn't out of my capacity. It was the moment I questioned myself about this, I was doing like relatively slow squats, not on purpose, just because you usually do things slowly that you don't enjoy very much. So I was like, I've got way more left in the tank. And I just pumped out the next 8 reps. And that was fine. So, what my tip is today, guys, is if you're having negative thoughts, ask yourselves what the real drivers are behind them. Okay. Not the manufactured ones you use to justify it to yourself, but what are the real drivers you've got in your head?
It's interesting that. So I had a conversation with a client, and she was saying, I don't like this or something like that. And I just asked a simple question. I said, why don't you like it? And then she went quiet for like a minute, and I went, I don't know. I don't actually know. And I was like, there you go. She was like, and then she was, it amazed her. And she kept talking about it afterwards. She's like, I can't believe it. I was like, yeah, you you switched something in my brain. I was like, you just got to ask the question. Every time, especially when it comes to exercise, anything challenging generally, but
Yeah.
predominantly
Yeah.
exercise, people go, "Oh, I hate that," and I go, "Why?" And they're like, they just have no idea. And usually, the only reason they don't like it is because it's hard. But when you say that, people are like, "Well, yeah, fucking course it's hard. That's what it's meant to be." There's
Yeah. It's like when people come to the gym and say, "Oh God, but it's heavy," and I'm like, "That's kind of what weights do. They just be heavy.
yeah,
That's their
that's their
job."
only purpose. It's their
Yeah,
literally
that's
their
it.
only purpose. Yeah,
And that is
it's so
it's
funny.
why we've said this so many times now, but why is the best question to ask in pretty much every scenario? Okay, ask why of yourself and why of other people when it's appropriate to do so as well. Don't be a dick, but
Mm.
yeah, it's like it just reflects so many things back at you when you ask that question. So if you ever want to go deeper into understanding your own motivations and other people's motivations, ask them why. And sometimes it's just bullshit. You're like, oh yeah, because I'm being a pussy, and it's as simple as that.
Simple as that.
And then it's a test of character, because if you still stop, then then you really need to have a word with yourself. But Josh, let's move on to current news. Current news is very personal today for me. Not personal in an important way, just personal as in it's all about me. Because
But what was the diagnosis in the end? Was it warts, or was it just a random rash?
it was a random rash that swelled up so bad into multiple little things that I thought it was warts.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Just those latex gloves. But today's current news is I just finally watched The Flash, Josh. That is the first thing I'm going to talk about.
The series or the movie?
No, the movie.
With Ezra Miller.
With Ezra Miller. Now, we've talked a lot of times about this, about how we're just not that interested, not that fast. Like, what the fuck is DC doing? Stuff like that. And I was not interested in it. And it was on Amazon for £1.99. And because I had such low expectations, I really fucking enjoyed it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
What was
it was good fun. It wasn't by any means a game changer or anything like that. And it did make me even more disappointed about the current state of the DCU and what's happening with the Snyderverse. But it was enjoyable. Ezra Miller was a little bit annoying through some of it, but I think that's just part of his character as well. It might be because I know what, like, I've heard about the stuff that's happening out, like, in the real world as well. I kind of maybe associated that on him a little bit, but still, it was an enjoyable film, and it's got, this shouldn't be a spoiler because it's in all the blooming trailers and everything. But Michael Keaton's obviously in his Batman. You got Zod comes back, Supergirl's in it, and there's a load of Easter eggs at the end. I wasn't too keen on the way some of the Easter eggs looked on film, but I think that was a style choice. But it was,
What were the
it was
Easter eggs?
enjoyable. So like the Easter eggs were, it's a lot of it goes into like parallel universes and stuff like that. So you see all the people who were going to play Superman back in the day, including a Nicolas Cage. You see different versions of Batman as well, like Adam West and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff.
Do you who was the bad guy in that in the end?
That would be too much of a spoiler if I gave that away. Yeah, because that is like the main.
Message
like
me,
the main thing.
me who the bad guy is. Message me.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to reveal it, but I want to know.
Okay, guys, mute yourself. If you don't want spoilers, mute yourself for the next 10 seconds from now.
I think
it was him. Basically, it was a future version of himself was the bad guy, kind of, and Zod.
I haven't got it. I haven't received it. Where is it?
I haven't messaged you. Did you hear what I said, or did it cut out?
No, you froze. I think the.
Oh, so did you? Oh, right. Okay. Guys, mute yourself for another 10 seconds. So from now. Yeah, it was himself, a future version of himself, and Zod were the bad guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But not together. It was a bit of a weird setup. It was cool. So basically, after that, we watched Man of Steel, then Batman versus Superman, and then we started the Justice League. And we're just like, oh, for God's sake, you can. when you see the direction things were going, you start to get annoyed. Like,
Yeah.
just with the interference that the studios have and stuff like that, and you can tell it's all about the money, which is fair enough. It's a business, but it's not about setting up for fan service in the end,
No.
which is just, it is a bit gutting. But I'd love to have known what could have come of it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's a shame, isn't it? But yeah, I guess it was just because I think Batman versus Superman and Justice League just didn't hit off, did they? And I think if they hit off like they wanted them to, it would have been fine. But because they did badly, and then obviously they cost so much money to make. It blows my mind how much money it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is mad amounts of money. It's like the Marvels. I think it will draw even, but it's just nowhere near as popular as it was. One thing I will say about the Flash, though, it is quite fun. Have you seen Shazam, the second Shazam film yet?
No.
We watched that a few weeks ago as well. That was quite funny. But this is probably the second funniest DC film I've seen, and there was a bit. Wonder Woman's got the lasso of truth.
Mm-hmm.
She puts it on Bruce Wayne,
Oh
on
no!
Batman. Sorry, on Batman.
Oh yeah.
Basically, she saves their asses, and Flash says thank you to her, and Batman says, "I would say thank you, but my ego stops me from saying thank you," because it's funny. And there's a bunch of other stuff like that. And he said another thing. He says, "I'm like the richest man in the world. I could end poverty, but instead I choose to fight crime." It's so good. It's like quite self-aware with it, so it has got some really funny moments in it. But again, that just got me pissed off because I was like, what could they have done with Ben Affleck and all that shit? So yeah, it gets me a little bit. But
yeah,
it's not going to change anything. Me being pissed off, so I don't worry about it.
No, it's not at all, mate.
But I would recommend giving it a watch because we've just had so low expectations of it. I ended up enjoying it more. So yeah, that's a good thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about in current news. Now, I've told you about this, Josh.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
About it.
So we're writing, and when I say we, myself and Kimberly, we were talking. I've told you this, but I'll say it again for the listener. I was walking home the other night from work. It was dark, and I had my head torch on. It was a little bit foggy, and I just, in my mind, I was on the phone to Kimberly at the time from my earphones, and I was just imagining, I was like, oh, what would happen right now if, because I walk along home over some hills that look down on a couple of lakes, and the other side of a couple of lakes is like a small industrial estate with an Asda and a B&Q and stuff, and you can see all the lights from it at any given time. And I was like, oh, what would happen if I just saw a bit of an explosion because from the fuel station, heard this terrifying screamy type thing, and all the lights went off and stuff like that. I was like, how would I respond? What would I do? And I was on the phone to Kimberly while I was having all these thoughts. I was speaking to her about it as well, and we were like, fuck it, should we turn it into a story? It's just something, not necessarily going to do anything with it, not necessarily going to publish anything with it or anything like that, but it's a project that we're going to work on together so we can complete something. And we were like, can we turn this into a story? And so the premise of the story is going to be loosely based on us, but with slightly different circumstances. So her side of the story is going to be she is stuck in Cornwall, very close to where we live, and her journey is going to be about surviving in situ, like in a certain place, the things she has to go do, the things she has to go get. My side of the story is going to be I'm the other side of. So, for those who don't know Cornwall or Devon, there's a bridge called the Tamar Bridge that you get from Devon into Cornwall. I'm going to be just coming to the Tamar Bridge where it gets blown up by the military to stop people coming over. And then my side of the story is going to be making it back to Kimberley. Now, Josh, you are in this because I haven't decided what to call you yet. I'm going to make it. I'm going to give you a great name. Don't worry. But you get injured, so that's the only way. It's the only way I can justify you not coming on the adventure with me to save your missus. So you have to go into hospital. Otherwise, you'd be even worse of a person because you weren't going to go check on Rachel. So that could be the sequel. So yeah, I end up getting injured as well because I I try and steer the boat to get across, and I get shot, so I'm injured trying to make my way back. So it's about a 70-mile journey from the bridge to maybe a bit less from the bridge to get back to where we live. So my part of the story is traversing 70 miles, not really being able to use cars because of the military presence and the noise and stuff like that. So I have to get back there. But the reason I mention this is because I'm actually crowdsourcing out death scenes. So I've been speaking to everybody in the gym, and I've been like, is there anyone you want dead, and how do you want them to die in a zombie apocalypse? Because I will add this into my book.
So funny.
Obviously, the first two, the main perspectives of myself and Kimberly. But one of the things I really like about Stephen King, I've read Stephen King all my life, and in fact, I haven't read him in a few years, and the next book I've got to read is a Stephen King book. I'm quite excited about it. But one of the things I love about his storytelling is that he's one of the best for creating believable characters. But one of the other things he can do is in the middle of a story, introduce a character that you end up wanting to know more about, but it's literally just one chapter and what their experience is of an event that's going on at any given time. So there's a book called The Stand where it is a apocalyptic like end of world book, and he'll just introduce this one character and what their experience is of it. There's another chapter where I think it's like literally a couple of paragraphs for like 10 different characters and what happens to them. Like a couple kill themselves because they can't face it. Someone breaks his ankle and then can't move, dies that way. And it just goes through all of these random people. So what I want to do within this story is interject every like 5 chapters or so what other people are experiencing who aren't connected to the overall story, just so it paints a broader picture of it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna crowdsource some scenes out. So if anyone's got any ideas of how they want certain death scenes to play out, message us and I will try and add them into the story. I think it'd work great.
Mate, I reckon I could give you about 20 death scenes quite easily.
Just send me the reels of them, mate, because you get them all anyway. It's absolutely fine.
Rachel always is shocked about how horrific my imagination is as well. So I could come up with some pretty gory shit.
That's good. Bring it on, man. Bring it on. The only thing I haven't worked out yet is I've got two ideas in my head. It's either going to be set in the summer, in the peak of like tourist season down here, which will make it even more crazy and will make all the roads blocked and everything like that, which would be quite cool. That will be harder for my journey, or make it Black Friday, where like where Kimberly's journey starts in a shop or something like that, and then Black Friday kicks off, and then then it all starts in there. I think we're going to go with the summer route because the idea of having all the roads clogged and the shops will still be busy because of tourists, I think that'll just be like the ultimate one to do it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, living in Cornwall where we live in a zombie apocalypse is the perfect place to be, unless it's the summer.
Yeah,
unless it's the summer, and then it's fucking rammed.
Yeah,
I'm all right because I live in a little village in the sticks, so I'd like nobody's coming to my village to get away from the zombies, and all the zombies that'll be here would be really old ladies. So I'll have a good time. But
just so you know, these are 28 day later type zombies.
It's like runners.
Yeah, so I've been looking into this, and the one thing that they got that I really liked, because I always like to base anything I come up fictionally in my head, I always like to base in realism, and the only thing that I can really find that makes sense that's not like cordyceps mushrooms is rabies. And rabies is basically what caused rage in 28 days later, but it's just a highly transmissible version. So it's so the rabies causes the rage, which is like pure aggression. Most humans who get it die, but it's just going to be a variation of that, and it starts off at Helston Naval Base, Helston Air Base as well. So it's
which is not far from me actually. So
not far from us at all. So it's it lends itself very well where we are to doing this story. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes, and I'll probably update listeners and yourself, Josh, along the way, because I'm looking forward to it.
I want to, when you have like manuscripts to read, I want to read it. I want all of that shit. I am in.
So
And
one
if
of
you
our
fucking kill
another
me off, I'm
ideas
going to be
uh,
pissed.
is going to be good. Another one of the ideas we've got is because it's going to be the first chapter, apart from the ones where it's random people. The first chapter is going to be both of us together, and then it's going to be taking turns in chapters. So we
Mhm.
might record it as a podcast, a serial podcast thing as well, which would be quite cool. It just depends whether we can voice
Yes.
act or not. So yeah,
Yes.
and then you can do all the scenes of the randoms if you want.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Here's a question. I've
Go
got
on.
this is I'm just in the zombie apocalypse mode now.
Mm.
Do you have do you have a apocalypse bag ready to go? Do you have a rucksack full of stuff ready to go?
Not a rucksack full of stuff ready to go, but within 2 seconds of my seat right here, I have 3 axes, a baseball bat with a metal ring around the top of it, and my bow and arrow over there. So,
Mm.
and 2
Y-
samurai swords, which you can probably just see the ends of there as well. So,
Okay, yeah, that's fine and all, but that's not. I mean, that's
a
you can't just
survival.
survive off just them. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. But I was speaking to Kimberly about this, and because I was going through all these scenarios, and she was like, "Oh yeah, but we always talk about prepping." I was like, "We can't be too prepared in the story because that just won't be as as interesting to read or listen to. So we got to be unprepared."
Mm.
However, one of the first places I would try to find out a location of, and now I've said this, I'm probably going to do it pre the apocalypse because it's going to happen. I would go and find a distribution center for a supplement company and just get
Mm.
all the multivits, all of the
Oh,
protein powders, and everything like that. Because
mm,
that shit lasts. Like that shit lasts for a
mm,
long time if you keep it sealed. So while everyone else is going to the supermarket fighting for the last scrap of whatever, I would probably go grab all the supplements as much supplements and as much peanut butter as I possibly could. That is literally what I
mm.
would go for, and nuts in
I,
general.
uh, I just hope by the time the zombie apocalypse comes, I live on a ranch.
Be good. Has
Mm.
to be defensible though, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, be fine. I'll have lots
Mm.
of guns.
Right, let's move on because we're way closer to Christmas than we are Halloween now. So let's
Mm.
move on. I am going to be talking about zombies all
Yeah, I was going to say
throughout the
zombies are
following
for
weeks. Yeah.
Christmas too.
Yeah, this is true, actually. You can't just discard them. But Josh, let's go into our fit talk. And I want to talk to you about current training because you're doing some very
Mm.
exciting stuff at the moment. And I just want to hear more about it. We haven't really spoken about exactly what you're doing, as in personally, and we definitely haven't spoken about it on here yet. So what's your training looking like at the moment?
Mate, my training at the moment is I'm training. I'm just sending you a little thing on WhatsApp, by the way, because that's something I want to talk about as well. But my training is at the moment I'm doing 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I'm doing strength and conditioning. So if people don't know what it is, it's like I do half the sessions strength work, power work, and then at the end there's some form of conditioning. So like hard graft, like CrossFit style stuff. Mate, I'm fucking loving it. So I get up at 4:45 every morning. I go train at 5:30 till 6:30. I get back, have my breakfast, have a shower, and I'm usually out the door at 8 o'clock for work. So yeah, man, I'm doing strength and conditioning at the moment. So squat day Monday, overhead push and pull on Tuesday. Today was full body. Tomorrow's deadlifts and Friday's bench. So
Nice.
it's a good mix. So today we were doing clusters, they call them, which is clean thrusters. So there's doing heavy clean thrusters, heavy dumbbell snatches. Well, heavy dumbbell snatches first, then heavy clean thrusters,
Do you
then
have to
dumbbell.
clean each rep
Yeah,
and then
clean
thrust?
each rep,
Oh,
clean and thrust, and as fluid as you can as well. So clean and
oh
thrust.
my God.
Heavy dumbbell snatches, heavy clusters, dumbbell thrusters, single arm deadlifts, and weighted sit-ups. And then my conditioning was I had to do 40 dead ball pickups, 20 burpees, 40 step overs of a box, and 20 of these sit-ups on like an ab mat. And then at the end was just some additional ab isolation, which was quite cool. But man, it's fucking awesome. I'm
So
loving it.
people might not know this about you, Josh, but you're a moist individual when your body gets going. So
Fuck
yeah, how
yeah.
sweaty are you by the end of these
Disgusting.
sessions?
It's I feel like, so it's quite interesting actually, because I'm going to a group session just because it's perfect timing for me, and actually it's quite nice not to have to think about it. And
Mhm.
because I've got previous training experience, I'm like, there's one other guy who goes who's like looks like he's 6'5", 120 kilos, and he's really strong. But I'm like, I'm a previous trainer, should be quite fit and stronger than most of the others there. But I come out looking the worst every fucking time. I look
Nice.
disgusting, just full of
Mm.
sweat. Man, it's awesome. I've
Mm.
got a few goals with it. I want to get a bit stronger, but they have talked about doing this link that I just sent you, which is a superhuman games in
I
Bristol.
just watched that. That looks incredible. It looks like the CrossFit Games on a smaller scale, basically.
Yeah, it's like a mixture between Tough Mudder and CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the kind of a little bit of both, and you can do it in teams or solo or pairs. It might be just teams or pairs, but do want to do that? And we were talking about doing the
800
Spartan.
athletes. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
and we were talking about doing the Spartan races next year as well. But
Mm.
yeah, so I'm doing that and eating well. And so the aim is drop up quite a bit of weight. Then the gym I go to is also a calisthenics gym and a movement gym. So I want to learn how to do, like, because they're all going to a calisthenics competition this weekend, which is a strict muscle up, strict pull up, strict dip, and squat. And it's all weighted. So they're doing like weighted muscle ups, strict, so not kipping or anything. And
Nice.
it's super strict as well. You got to keep your legs straight the whole time. Like, one of them's doing like a fucking 50-kilo muscle up or something stupid like that.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So mate. So that's my thing at the moment. I'm doing 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 5:30 in the morning, strength and conditioning.
That's pretty good. That is that sounds awesome. I was saying to you like because that tempted me. I was like, oh shit, but I can't get up any earlier than what I get up without sacrificing
What
too
time do you
much
get
sleep.
up?
I get up 5:45 at the moment. So to get up an hour earlier than that, that would mean I get like 6 hours of sleep, and I just I can't I can't do that to myself at the moment. It's just
No,
too
definitely
much.
not.
So yeah, it's if I didn't work evenings, then boom, straight away I'll be on that. But at the end of the day, I get home at 8, and then I've still got to spend time with Kimberly and Andy in that time as well. So it's just it's not going to happen.
Although
But
Arnold
go
did
on.
say that if you sleep 8 hours, you should sleep faster. You only need
Yeah,
6.
he
That's what
did say
Arnold
that.
used to say.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So my training. I have mentioned to you multiple times about the mythical time when I managed to get 100 pull-ups done in a half-hour space and what my programming looked like for that. I
Yeah.
have revisited the principles of that from 6 years
Yeah.
ago, 7 years ago now. 2016
Oh
was when I
wow.
was smashing all this out. So every day I have a push, a pull, a legs, a cardio, and an abs. Most of them are 10 reps. So I can quickly go over this. So Monday is dumbbell bench press, so dumbbell bench press, pull up, sumo dead, skipping, and ab rollout. So the main
Mm,
three moves will be 10 reps. The skipping is 50, and the ab rollout is 10. Tuesday is dumbbell push press, then barbell bent over row, front squat, slam ball, and sprinter sit ups. All of those are 10, apart from the sprinter sit ups, which are 20. Wednesday is dips, narrow grip lat pull down, kettlebell swings, burpees, reverse curl. All of those are
mm,
10s. Thursdays are push ups, inverted rows, cyclist goblet squat, jump lunges, bicycle crunches. Friday is Arnold press, easy curl, goblet squats, punch bag kicks, and hanging leg raises. The goal is to get all of these up to 10 sets by my birthday in 6 weeks' time. So
Oh shit,
that
that's
is
not
what
long at
my goal
all.
is. That's not long at all. So yesterday I got onto set 9 of the push press, the bent over row, the front squats, the slam balls, and the sprinter sit up. So I done like 180, no, I done 160 sprinter sit ups. I didn't complete the round 9 of that. I haven't mentioned it to you on the thing yet, but when you asked me earlier on and I said I'm going to wait till Fit Talk, I am in a considerable amount of fucking pain
Yeah.
right now. Like
Yeah.
everything hurts, and it's been so long. So I managed to get 70 pull-ups the other day. By no means were they strict. 30 of them were strict. And then, so what I was doing, instead of using you see my pull-up bar in here. So there's like, when I'm
Mm.
hanging off it, I've got a good 2 foot clearance underneath my feet. So instead of doing
Mm.
that, I was using the pull-up bar on my rack. So what I was doing, I was lowering myself out. Oh, it even hurts to lift my fucking arms up right now. I was lowering myself down and then just lightly bouncing on my toes to get myself back up and lowering myself down. So I'd done
Mm.
that for 40 reps, and I'd done 30 strict reps of
Oh wow.
pull-ups. So
Good.
yeah, it was still real hard. I'm starting off relatively light, and I want to know what kind of. I'm essentially aiming to do German volume training with
Mm.
higher intensity, which is
Yeah.
it's a bit
Brutal.
insane. But when I'd done that back in the day, I was in the best shape I've ever been, and because of my slight injury I had recently, my other goal of a certain weight deadlift is now out the window temporarily. So I'm going the
Mm.
intensity route instead and just seeing what I can bring to the table. So similar to yours in the fact I'm going strength and conditioning, but strength is by no means the metric I'm going to be measuring at the moment.
No.
It's just getting my body used to this kind of intensity. And it's half hour as well, which really suits my life right now. So 5 times a
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
30 minutes, and I'm done.
Mate, that's awesome. That's epic. Sounds
Mm,
cool. Sounds
mm,
interesting. What I will say about shout out to Sequoia Gym where I'm training at the moment. It is such a fun place in terms of it's
mm.
got so many toys, like so many toys. And what's the most impressive? I think I can't remember if it's like 64 or 68 kilo kettlebell. And as soon as I walked in the door, I kind of spotted it. I've been staring at it ever since. It's going to take me ages, but one of my goals eventually it would be a monster challenge. But I would love to be able to snatch it. I'd love
I
to be
thought
able
you were
to
going to say
snatch it.
Turkish get up it then. If you can Turkish get up it, then
Oh,
damn.
that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But man, it's got so many toys. It's got the strength room where I've been in, but it's also got a full movement room, which is like it's like a playground in there. So I'm
How
like
big is the
this.
place then? I don't know how big it is.
It's not massive, but it's
Okay.
such a cool spot. It's such a cool
Mm,
spot. It's got and it's enough. You know, it's got the 2 spaces, so you could do the movement room's bigger than the strength room, so you could do a lot more in there. But
hmm
the strength room's enough to fit 10, 10 to 15 people in there
Oh
training.
wow. Okay. Nice. Perfect size.
You could fit 10 comfortably, maybe 15 would be quite tight. But it's so many toys, man. So yeah, they've even got a circus dumbbell
Oh man.
that you can
Round
add
one
weight
or
to.
just a massive, as in like a
Round what?
ball on the end? No
No, not a
way.
ball. The cylinder, but you can
Yeah.
slide plates on it to make it
Yeah.
heavier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've got axle plates for the axle bar.
What
You know,
are,
like
what are actual plays? I don't know. Are they just
the
massive?
ones that look like fucking. They should be on the side of a carriage.
No way. That's cool. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I want to go.
yeah,
I
man, it's
really want to
so
go.
cool. Yeah, so but yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like listening to more stuff. And we both said we listened to the Cam Haines
hmm
versus Cam Haines Joe Rogan podcast that came out recently, and listen to this more stuff. And I kind of think next year, I would like next year to be, I'm calling it the challenge year, where we've talked about doing a Spartan race, potentially the trifecta. There's this superhuman games that potentially might do. I think we try and get in as many challenges as possible, even if we make some up, on our
hmm
own. Just to test our grit a little
Before you
bit,
go any
test our
further,
limits.
Josh, just before you go any further, please, Kimberly was like, "What the fuck is Josh on? The amount of challenges he has." So she's binged all of our episodes recently. He has
Yeah,
put
yeah,
out
yeah,
so.
yeah. No,
Nope, I've had words. So before you throw any more out there,
no, I'm not
let's.
going to throw any more. I'm not going
Okay,
to throw any
good.
more. Don't worry. I'm not going to throw any more challenges. But I think next year, because we've talked about it and we keep talking about
Mhm.
it, and we both kind of in that training mindset at the moment where we're
Yeah.
doing like high intensity stuff. We want to. There's something we've both talked about for ages, and this is why I keep
Mhm.
saying it because we fucking keep talking about it. And the people we kind of idolize are these people that are fucking mental and do this
Yeah.
crazy shit. So I think next year we just see how many things we could get done, obviously within time limit. But we've said we're going to do the Spartan one, so we could do that.
That's definitely going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just go and do some crazy ass challenges.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, like my philosophy around training is slightly changing, but I think I'm at the right point in my training period. So I've always been a massive advocate for balanced training that fits into your life,
Mm.
but at the moment, I'm kind of pivoting towards that more intense,
Mm.
extreme stuff. I'm like, okay, this is like, let's face it, I'm definitely not getting any younger at the moment. I'm by no means old. Like, there's people in there 20 years older than me that are still doing crazy shit. But I feel almost like there is going to be time limits on some of the things I can and can't do within the next decade or so. And
Hmm.
some of these goals that, like me and you talk about, you need a year to get ready for some of these things. So like there's
Hmm.
only I'm kind of thinking how many years, like what do I want to do and what do I want to have it done by. So for my 40th, I want to that's when I'm going to go for my big fucking deadlift, then big deadlift, big squat,
Mm.
big bench. Then after that I'm going to take a step back from from the heavy lifting, I think, and I that's when I want to get really good at calisthenics, because
Mm.
I think getting to 40 and then you're still young enough to really get good at movement based body weight activities. Whereas
Mm.
I don't want to put the stress on my body for lifting ridiculously heavy weights. So that's kind of how I'm building up. But next year, I mean, that would take me like 16 weeks to go for. So that was when next October. However, between now and October, yeah, I'm game. Let's do as much as we can and smash like whatever challenges we think. I want to get fit. That's one of the things I'm enjoying about this new workout program is using my body, feeling like I'm aching again. And then, we say all the time, aching is not a good metric for assessing how good a workout is. For me, I'm
Mm.
assessing I'm using it to assess, okay, how quick am I recovering? And then when's it going to stop aching? I'm using that as a metric right now. So it's all interesting. If it hadn't been for my injury, I would have just ended up doing the same stuff. So I'm kind of like thankful in a way that it's pushed me in a direction that I probably wouldn't have gone
Yeah,
voluntarily as
yeah, yeah.
easily.
Yeah, mate, it's exciting. There's definitely lots still to be achieved and lots to do. So I think
Hmm.
100% it's a good time to get on it. And while that motivation's there, I know motivation is fleeting, so use it to propel yourself forwards, man. That's good. It's exciting.
Definitely, yep. Right, let's move on to study time quick. And this is actually an article from IFLScience, which is I fucking love science. And
Mm.
the headline of this is just one all nighter can rewire the brain and reverse feelings of depression for days. Now, this is almost counter narrative to everything we see and hear these days, in terms, including what we talk about as well.
Mm.
It's that one night can make a difference and lead to bad decisions and all that stuff. So I'm just going to quickly skim through this. So this is not from our usual source; it's from different. So it's the writing style was very different. It's written as an article. Have you ever pulled an all nighter and wound up feeling wired, hyper, even a bit like you're drunk? Well, scientists are looking to harness that feeling to see if it could help people suffering from depression, and a new study in mice has uncovered the changes in the sleep deprived brain that seem to cause it. For most of us, the thought of having to forego a night of restful sleep is not a cheerful one, but when forced awake by a night shift, a long trip, or last minute study session, many people find they feel surprisingly upbeat the next day. You might describe it as a feeling tired and wired, or giddy, or even a bit
Mm.
delirious, but in a good way. If just one all nighter can have this kind of effect, scientists reasoned, this could help us better understand how the brain changes to affect our mood and how some antidepressants like ketamine can kick in so quickly. Interestingly, changes in mood state after acute sleep loss feel so real even in healthy subjects, as experienced by myself and many others. But the exact mechanisms in the brain that lead to these effects have remained poorly understood. To learn more, Wu and a team performed experiments in healthy adult mice. They devised a system for keeping the animals awake whilst minimizing the amount of stress they were under, using an enclosure with a raised platform above a slowly rotating beam. Bastards. The mice could either chill on the platform or go for an explore down below, but they had to keep moving to keep out of the way of the beam. The authors tested the device and found that I've just like got. You remember in Sonic the Hedgehog, you get the rotating beams with the spikes on it that you have to go over?
Yeah,
That's like what's in my head at the moment. The mice, but they had to keep moving to get out of the way of the beam. The authors tested the device and found that when mice were housed in it, they got significantly less sleep. After a night of sleep deprivation, the authors observed the mice behaving in a more aggressive and hypersexualized way. The culprit? Dopamine. The reward? Neurotransmitter. The authors could see that the dopamine signaling was increased in the animals' brains, but they weren't sure whether this was specific to certain regions or a whole brain effect. They took a closer look at 4 regions: the prefrontal cortex, nucleus accumbens, hypothalamus, and dorsal striatum, monitoring them for dopamine release and then silencing them one by one. The antidepressant effect persisted, except when silenced dopamine inputs in the prefrontal cortex, explained senior author. That means the prefrontal cortex is a clinically relevant area when searching for therapeutic targets. But it also reinforces the idea that has been building in the field recently. Dopamine neurons play very important but very different roles in the brain. They are not just this monolithic population that simply predicts rewards. The point about therapeutic targets is key. According to the CDC, depression affects 16 million American adults each year, and antidepressant medications are widely used. While some people have found traditional antidepressants to be transformative, they don't work for everyone and can have significant side effects, which is studies we've talked about before, Josh. Studies are exploring the potential of new approaches such as psychedelics for the hardest to treat cases, but there's always a need for improved understanding that could lead to new therapies. That's not to say, however, that Kozorovitsky would recommend pulling an all-nighter as a quick fix. Organisms may have evolved this state of heightened awareness for times when delaying sleep and being on high alert could protect them from predation and threats, which makes sense. But over time, the problems of chronic sleep deprivation will quickly begin to outweigh these benefits. However, it is an important avenue for researchers to continue to explore. So I find this like really interesting, especially with how they're going to take it. But the headline is a little bit like, oh shit, so pull an all-nighter and feel better. But like they say towards the end there, if you are thinking about early humans, you're not thinking about paying bills that are keeping you awake. You're not necessarily feeling like the relationship status keeping you awake, or how much what work's going to be like the next day is keeping awake. It's going to be genuine threat of life. So if you are scared for your threat of life, you're almost given that what is usually called a second wind, and that second wind, evolutionarily speaking, will be to get yourself to fucking safety. So that's where the dopamine kind of kick in and will come. But if it happens to you, you can probably utilize it for something good, and they're just looking for a way to kind of replicate that feeling, hopefully without the lack of sleep in the first place.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is definitely interesting. Like all these studies, it's still early doors yet to see if it's going to be anything. But I mean, and sometimes it's necessary, right? I think that yes, regular sleep is super important. We will drill that into your brains forever and ever and ever. However, sometimes when you're overwhelmed with shit, like me and Rachel used to do it all the time, especially when she was at uni, because I was with her for her whole uni degree. And sometimes you've just got so much shit on that actually, we said it recently, actually, we recently were like, should we just do an all-nighter again? Because sometimes you fucking need to do it just to get shit done, not just because of like you're depressed, but because you've got fucking shit to do.
Yeah.
So every now and again, like one all-nighter, if it gets stuff off your back, makes you feel better, yeah, you might pay for it for a day or two, but it might help you, and potentially it's going to help you feel a bit better anyway, maybe, which is fucking cool.
Yeah, and I've done it countless times, like pulled all nighters, and they have to be done sometimes. And not only that, they can be quite fun, and I'm not by any means glorifying the grind culture and stuff like that, but every now and then, like you say, you've just got shit that you've got to get done, and sometimes putting an all-nighter, knowing that you're going into it and putting it, then that is sometimes a fun way to be. And like for the likes of me and you, Josh, I can imagine next year there's going to be a few circumstances where we're going to have to put all-nighters, and it can almost be exciting, especially if we're doing it together as well. It's like, okay, yeah, we can keep each other G'd up and just talking through it and stuff. But then, yeah, as long as you're not prolonging that experience for too long, you wouldn't want to do like 2 nights of it or 3 nights of it on the trot. That could end up fucking you up a bit. But having the occasional one, you can almost see how that boost would kick in for the excitement and the adrenaline and just getting shit done as well.
It's definitely like a once a quarter thing, you know what I mean? It's not something you do often. I mean, I've worked with people who only work nights, and they're not healthy, man. You know, they're in a bad way. Most of them have got diabetes. You know, it's not good. But the one every now and again, just to get your shit together, great. And if it's showing that potentially it's gonna maybe reverse some bad feelings for a few days, fucking wonderful.
Yeah, do it. And obviously, I think a lot of it depends on what your commitments are on a day-to-day basis as well. Like, can you actually function with no sleep? That's like the main thing. If you've got kids, then you know you're probably used to it actually. So yeah, if it fits into your lifestyle and you need to get it done, then there can be beneficial effects from it. So don't be too scared. And if you go one night without sleep, just think to yourself, it goes back to those negative drivers. Just think to yourself, well, don't just complain because you didn't sleep. Actually ask yourself, but how do I actually feel? And if you feel like you can get shit done, then get shit done. Anyway, let's move on to the hot topic. And Josh, this is even more conversational than any other ones because I'm going to want your input on here as well. But today's hot topic is what you learn about yourself through training. Now, the results I've got for this are getting you thinking about the other benefits of training rather than just the physical and the aesthetic. The drivers are it's obvious to think about physical change, but there can be many profound psychological and growth oriented milestones as well. And I'm going to go through 12 or more of the biggest things that I've learned about myself. And Josh, you just chip in for any more that you can think of. And I'm going to kick off the list of one of the things I've actually learned about myself through training is that by nature, I'm a lazy fucker. Like, I don't want to do hard stuff. I don't. I could happily. We've talked about gaming like lots of times on this podcast. If I knew that I wouldn't have any detrimental health effects and I could still be spry and strong and like do shit that I wanted to do with my body, I would happily game all day, every day. Like if money wasn't an issue, if my body getting decrepit wasn't an issue, I could fall into that lifestyle. We've said before, shit, I wonder what we would have been like if our lives had taken different directions and we hadn't gone into the personal training route. Like I probably would have done something to do with computers and I probably would have been lazy and that I can see how that would have happened. Luckily I credit it with I discovered I was a very active kid. I discovered what my body was capable of, from relatively young ages, and that kind of set a subconscious baseline of what I wanted to be able to do at any given time in my head. Sometimes when you're given a certain identity by external forces, so if people say, "Oh God, you're strong," or stuff like that, and I worked on building sites and stuff like that, you kind of identify with that, and it's hard to do stuff that will go against that vision of you. So that I credit all of that stuff of why I've kept up like doing what I'm doing. But I do know that I am fundamentally I could be really lazy if like I am lazy as nature. So for me, tooting my own horn here, that makes what I do even more impressive because I work against my nature of being a lazy fucker.
Mate, I'm exactly the same. The same. I could quite easily sit and play video games all day. That'd be bloody lovely. You know what I mean? Yeah, it'd be so fucking nice. But like you said, it gets me off my ass. It gets me doing something, gets me moving. I could easily not do anything for ages if I let my fucking mind take over. But you've got to tell your mind what to do, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what training does. Is it sets it's almost like a reset. It's so nice training, like with me training first thing in the morning. I could, if I start the day off bad, I usually end the day bad. But I'm starting the day off and almost like I'm fucking putting a choke on and going, right, you got to go, bro. Oh, this is it, you know? So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, and the things you don't want to fuck up the momentum throughout the rest of the day after that. So you've set the precedent for the day, which is a really good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I like that a lot. So second point here, and this is going back to the just a tip earlier on. It makes me understand what my negative drivers are, because when you're in the middle of a workout, very, very few people enjoy every aspect of the workout. People usually enjoy the results and the feeling of endorphins from after the workout. Not many people enjoy every aspect of a workout whilst they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it really highlights what my negative drivers are. Like when I was halfway through the squat and I was just being a little bitch and complaining to myself that I didn't want to do it. And then I now pick up on things like that. I'm like, well, why don't I want to do it? Like it helps me learn more about myself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some I'm a sucker for hating any isometric exercise. So anything where you have to hold for a certain amount of time. I know I can probably hold things for longer, but I end up giving up early. And that's just because I think I just get bored. And then I think you get in your head, don't you, and start thinking about it, and you're like, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do this. But then when you break through that and you go, actually, no, shut the fuck up. You shut that negative brain off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And I think the more you can understand what your negative drivers are, the more you get to the better goals you can set, and the more you can just get shit done as well. My third point here is I understand what my real drivers are, and not just the ones I wish I had. And now what I mean by this is a lot of people will be motivated to do something because they've seen something cool on Instagram Reels, because they see these absolute units of people doing this fucking amazing shit. But when you start training and understanding how hard these people have to work to get into these positions, you start to understand, okay, they can do that because they put this amount of work in. They train 2 hours a day, times a week. When you're a little bit into your training journey, at least for me, I now understand what it would take for me to do certain things. So I'm no longer thinking of these massive, huge fucking leaps in every single area. I'm thinking, right, what can I do to specialize a little bit more in this area or that area or that area? But it helps me call out my own bullshit. And it's like, okay, I probably could do that, but at the moment I'm trying to do that. So don't kid yourself. Don't try to be everything to yourself all at once.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It can be so easy to think that you want to be doing, I want to be making millions of pounds, I want to be running a marathon, I want to be lifting heavy, I want to look like Chris Hemsworth, I also want to own a dog, I also want to have a Lego Millennium. I'm just listing off all the things I want right now. But these are not what your intrinsic values are, right? They're not what you really feel about yourself. And actually I just want to be healthy, I want to or I want to be strong. That's actually what I care about more. I'm just
Yeah.
seeing people do other things. I'm seeing somebody run for miles and I'm going, actually, that's impressive, but it's not what I want, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what training makes you do. You start to find the area that you love, and then you go, I want to do this. I want to do this, and nothing but this.
And let's be honest here. Like, most people have a finite amount of time they can put in every week, so you can't be everything to, like, you're not a CrossFit athlete because you've probably got a job, you've got other stuff you've got to do. People who are CrossFit athletes get paid to do that shit. They don't do full-time jobs
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, so they've got the time and the effort that they can put into that. It is literally their lives down to the gram of food they have every day. So it's you've got to understand that, and that really helps you develop your understanding of yourself and what your real drivers are. So the next point is quite closely related to that, and is you understand what you're capable of when you put yourself up against a goal, and especially if it's time related. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier on, and that is usually with my training, I am quite balanced. I have a balanced approach, but at least once a year, I like to have a really big push. And the last couple of years now, it seems to be at winter when I'm really pushing. Last year was my
Mhm.
powerlifting. This year is for what I talked about during our fit talk earlier on. I think when you're really, I think everyone needs to really fucking push themselves at least once. And if you're just starting out, that starting out is the just pushing yourself. Just push yourself to commit, to keep on going, to get started in the first place, create momentum. But for the likes of me and you, Josh, who have been doing this for many years now, our version of pushing yourselves harder is you getting up at 4:45 every morning to do a grueling session. Mine currently is to spend 30 minutes of pure fucking hell that makes my body feel like it's falling apart right now, but I know it's worth it in the long run because in 2 weeks' time, my body won't feel like it's falling apart.
Mm.
You really need to understand what your goals are, and when you're up against a time related thing, so mine is 6 weeks, it makes you understand what you're capable of. And when you do have those negative drivers that pop up in your head, you've got to have a good enough argument to carry on going, otherwise the negativity will win.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And you always, I find that people mostly surprise themselves when they put themselves up against something challenging.
Hmm.
Most people most people will do it like, so for instance, like today I had a conditioning thing, which is kind of a challenge. I had a certain amount of time to get, I had to get as much as I could in. And most people, they'll do something like that and they'll get to the end and they'll surprise themselves about how well they did. So challenging yourself like that gives you a little boost because you feel better about yourself. You go, oh, actually, I can do stuff. I'm not, I'm not as bad as
Hmm.
I keep telling myself I am. And
Hmm.
then, you'll go for a bit of a plateau where you feel like you're not going anywhere, but then you'll come out the other side, and again, you're like, oh God, I've come. Back then, I thought I was great, but now look at where I am. This
Hmm.
is insane. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck's going on?
That's it. And it's the, it's the repetition of these things that build up even
Mm,
more compounding results, because the more you can prove yourself that you're capable of something, the more confident you're going to be, and you're just going to become a better version of yourself. That's the best way to look at it.
mm,
My fifth point here is I understand how to pivot when things don't go to plan. Case in point, I was looking to do the powerlifting for January. Okay, we just talked about this, but I'm not.
mm,
I can't. I injured myself. I don't want to risk injuring myself again like that. So I'm pivoting, and instead I'm doing this new thing, all towards the greater good, the ultimate goal version of myself, like we talked about a couple of episodes back for the final form. It's still all going towards that, but I'm pivoting what I'm actually doing on the way. I always use the metaphor of if you're if you're aiming to drive somewhere, you need to know where you are, where you're going to. If there's a road closed along the way, you're going to need to take a different road. So that's exactly what you learn to do. You learn how to pivot and how to get over it.
And look, not only does it help you in your training space, but it helps you in life, right?
Yeah.
It helps you in life massively. Like we talked about a few episodes about my current situation of being made redundant and then having to fucking change my entire life. Training's helped me do that. Training's helped me go, all right, what the fuck do I do, rather than go, ah. So
Mm,
it helps, it's so important, such a life skill. And knowing that actually there is always another direction, and with training there's always a different way to train,
yeah.
no matter what. If you injure your leg and you can't train legs, you can do upper body. If you injure your upper body, you can train legs. There's always something there. If you can't run anymore, well, there's definitely, you can do calisthenics, you can lift weights.
Mm,
There's so much out there. you know
mm,
there's so much out there for you to do, that there's always something there.
yeah. And it doesn't even have to be anything with a barbell or a dumbbell. You can literally go carry something, or like
Mhm.
freaking just move stuff around. Like anything can be done there. The sixth point here is I've definitely developed a greater understanding of goal setting, because there's nothing so acutely results sensitive as training towards a goal. So this is why I love training. I've told this story before. When I go into training, it wasn't because I was necessarily the biggest fanboy of training. I got into training because for me, it's the biggest metaphor of achieving any goal in life. You have to do hard shit to get to the result that you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who thinks they can cheat that is just going to have a very harsh reality check. And along the way, you really learn how to goal set, because you get to a point when you've been training for a while, especially, where the minutest of changes can be the difference between you making a goal, getting to a goal or not. You can always be moving in the right direction, but sometimes, and this goes along with the pivoting as well, you learn how to develop your goal setting strategies to become more realistic. At the beginning, you might not have a fucking clue what you're capable of, and this goes back to another point earlier on. You might not have a clue, but the more you train, the more refined your decision making around your goals and what you see for yourself is going to get. You're just going to carry on refining that process over and over.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's with training as well. Is what's great about it is that you can't, like you said, you can't cheat it, and also you have to be realistic about it. Like you can't set a goal of like running a marathon next week if you've never ran, and with training it teaches you how to properly segment phases and how to properly build up to that goal and how to do it correctly, and then you can transfer that to everything else. Like, yeah, my goal might be to make £1,000,000, for instance, but unless I'm extremely lucky or really fucking clever or I have an amazing product, I'm not going to make £1,000,000 next week. You know what I mean? So then you need to figure out how to get there. What are the different phases you have to go through? What is £1,000,000 in a year? What is £1,000,000 in 2 years? What does that actually look like in funds? Like, how do I get there? And then build up into those small steps. Like, training is a small, consistent amount of workouts, constantly moving forwards, progressing, small progress forwards. It transfers to everything, man.
I mean, I think what we're doing right now is a really good parallel to this. So we're building a business. At the moment, we're being CrossFit athletes of business. We are having to do everything all at once together. But the more we grow, the more we're going to have to delegate out, and we're going to have to specialize in a certain event or a certain business tactic, and we're going to have to bring on other people who want to do it. So, for instance, CrossFitters are great at running and great at lifting weights, but they're not the best at either. So it might come to a point where we become great weightlifters, but we need to hire a couple of marathon runners to do some other stuff. Like we'll need to hire people for the marketing. We'll need to hire people for other stuff like that. It works both ways. You need to understand the different where you need to specialize in at any given point.
Yeah,
And that leads
definitely.
into the next point quite well. I learned how to develop specific strategies for overcoming obstacles, which is exactly what we were just saying. So instead of just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, you learn, for instance, if you want to grow muscle, you learn, okay, this is how I train to grow muscle. And you might grow muscle. In fact, you probably will grow muscle lifting up an Atlas stone and chucking it over your shoulder. But is that the best way to build muscle? No, it's not. So you'll learn different strategies for overcoming obstacles. And again, this all like cycles out towards other areas in life.
Yeah, and it's interesting that because I was actually having a chat with a gardener the other day about training, and he's coming up to about 60 now, and I was like, if you've never trained before, if you're wanting to like carry on doing the things that you're doing and be active and keep your joints healthy and your bones healthy, then strength training is the best thing you can do. And you want to be trying to build a bit of muscle mass, like around your legs, upper body and stuff. And he didn't realize that like a lot of cycling and running didn't really build muscle because people just don't know. And I went, well, no, it doesn't. You need to be doing this kind of thing. And he didn't know. And then it's people, if you're not in it, you don't understand that there is different ways of doing things, and actually it's not all just classified as one thing. Like in the business world, there's so many different arms, like you said. There's finance, there's marketing, there's all of that stuff. There's so many different arms to it. It's not just all running a business, so
hmm
you've got to learn the different strategies for the different outcomes and obstacles, like you said, and training teaches you how to look at that and how to assess it.
Yeah, yeah. The next point, really simple. It teaches you patience, because you've got to be patient. You can't expect overnight results. It does not work like that. And this patience ties in with every other point that I've said and every other point that I'm going to say. You need to be patient when you're looking for stuff, because otherwise you're going to look for shortcuts. And anyone who takes shortcuts, usually the results will never last as long as those people who don't. It might get you there a little bit quicker, but those results will not last, and you'll probably have to work harder to try and keep them. Whereas the people who actually do things properly, they will enjoy feeling better, and the results will last for longer. Patience, it really is a goddamn virtue. You need it.
Yeah. It's also, if you take shortcuts, especially in training, it's a surefire way of, you'll get your result, but you'll probably get injured in the process.
hmm
You're probably going to hurt yourself doing it, when actually, if you're patient and you take your time and you do things the right way, you're going to get a better result, for one, but also you're going to come out the other side not as damaged as
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And with that in mind, ninth point here is resilience. So physical resilience is definitely one. Like, you learn how to protect your body more especially when you're lifting heavy stuff. But the other one is mental resilience. We've said this so many times. Is like, is it beating a dead cat? Is that what the euphemism
Mm,
is? It's weird, isn't it? Or is it flogging a dead horse? I can't remember. But you do learn resilience so much. And the point that we brought up is, some people, their worst nightmare is spilling a little bit of water on their clean carpet. Whereas it's water, it's what you're going to use to clean the carpet with anyway, most of the time. So you build up resilience in so many other areas of your life, because you're putting yourself through adversity every time you step into the gym and train.
yeah, definitely. How many people have we trained them in the morning, and they go on, the rest of my day is going to be fine now because it can't be any worse than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
Mm.
smash them in the morning and go, well, yeah, the rest of my day is going to be all right because you just made me do something gross.
hmm
Is completely fine. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that is because you don't have, during the time of training, there is nothing else you can think about other than training, especially
hmm
if it's a hard session, right? There's nothing
Yeah.
else you can think about. So it clears your head, and then it gives you that time to like step back and look at the bigger picture.
hmm I think the moment you do start thinking about something else is the moment those negative drivers start coming to your head as well. And all you
Mm.
need to do is have a little refocus to get yourself back on track. So the next point here is actually two, but they're very closely related, and that is humility and pride. So I'll start with pride. It's not a bad thing. When I got my deadlift, I was fucking happy. I was proud of myself. That was nice. I felt
Mm.
good. When you bench 100 kilos for the first time, you feel good. That's a proud moment. When someone compliments you on your arms looking good, or your chest looking good, or your butt looking good, you're like, yeah, yeah, damn right they do. And you have a little bit of pride with that. On the flip side, you learn humility. You learn how to deal with failure, because for that one lift that I made, I had a lot of failures along the way of getting there. And
Mm.
failures could be missed reps, they could be injuries. There's failures that happen along the way. You learn how to deal with that. And because you're constantly challenging yourself every time you step in there, or at least you should be, you're going to learn how to deal with both of these things. So it's one of the most important lessons.
Especially, like, I mean, at the moment, I've been humbled lately going to the new gym, and there's people there that are absolute fucking weapons. And
hmm
I'm like, oh, yeah, no, yeah, yeah. And it's exactly what you need, especially PTs, right? Especially
Yeah.
PTs. It can so easy as a PT to be in your gym thinking you're the top dog. And then I've go somewhere else and I'm like, oh, no, no, I'm fucking bottom rung, mate.
Yeah, that's
I am
it.
not, I am fuck all. This is, yeah. fuck, shit, I need to sort my shit out. And that's exactly what you need.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those weird things about being a PT is that we're not going to be as good as some of the people that we train with sometimes. But the irony is, we could tell them how they could get better, which is quite, which is quite fun. It's like people have expectations around trainers. We're not all superhuman, super fit people, but we know our shit. At least the good ones do.
Mm.
Point 11 here, second to last point. I have developed, and people should develop, a real good respect for effort. Like,
Yeah.
it takes effort to accomplish anything. You learn it. You learn how to have respect for that effort, and that is really important because you meet people who don't have any respect for money, and then they usually end up skint. So if you can have a respect for money, you will end up learning how to use that money. If you have a respect for effort, you will end up you'll know how to put that effort to good use.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really care like what you can lift, what you can do.
Yeah.
But when people come in and they're like, even on the lightest weights, and you can tell they're struggling with it because they've not like really lifted weights before, their cardio shit, but they still go for it. They still go at it and just go, no, do you know what? I'm going to send it either way. They're the best, man.
Yeah. I this happens so many times when I'm like saying, "Oh, well done for lifting that. That was amazing," and they look back and they say, "Yeah, but there's only a little plate on each end." And I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm respecting the effort that you've put into this, not the weight you're lifting at the moment. That will go up. That's measurable. What you're doing, like the effort you're putting in, that's almost immeasurable. That's an intrinsic feeling you're feeling there that is just that's more powerful than anything else. And if you're willing to put in the effort, the results will come.
Yeah, definitely, man. You've got to put the effort in, and otherwise, you'll just get defeated in a gym. Especially the weights will just beat you, man.
Yeah, they will. And so will your own ego as well.
Mm.
Last but not least, we've already said this multiple times, so we don't need to go too deep into it, but shortcuts don't last. And that actually harkens to what you just said, ego. So instead of shortcuts don't last, because we've already spoken about that, I will say it teaches you how to, and this kind of goes with humility as well, but it teaches you about your ego. One of the most interesting things about where I work now. It seems weird saying not where we work. One of the most interesting things about that is that back in the day, before my time there, they used to train on the beach, and there's a lot of badass women who train there, and there were guys who would come along to these workshops and get intimidated by the fact we've got these women here who can fucking shift some weight, and they stopped coming because they were intimidated by the women, and that is a where's that going to get you being intimidated? Like, temper that ego, because that is pure ego. Stopping training somewhere because a woman's outdoing you, that shouldn't matter. You should just carry on going. It's
Yeah,
that's fragility.
Leave ego at the door, man. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you can put ego to good use sometimes, but it's not like you shouldn't let it affect you negatively like that.
No.
But guys, I'm just going to go over these points again. So I'm actually going to reword this a little bit. I'm going to say these are the things I've learned about myself through training, and you might be able to identify with some of them. I'm actually lazy. It makes me understand what my negative drivers are. I understand what my real drivers are, not just the ones I wish I had. I understand what I'm capable of when it comes to goal setting, especially when it's time related. I understand how to pivot when things don't go to plan. I developed a greater understanding of goal setting. I learned how to develop specific strategies for overcoming obstacles. I've really learned how to be patient. I've learned resilience. I've learned how to deal with humility and pride. I've really learned a respect for effort. And I know how to deal with my ego as well.
Brilliant hot topic.
It's good. It's good. It's not all about the physical. So yeah, it's just good to dwell on these other things from time to time.
Yeah, it's definitely good to think about. It's definitely good to talk about. But Jack,
go on.
I told my girlfriend she drew her eyebrows too high. She seemed surprised.
I like it. I need to remember this joke I heard the other day. What the hell was it? Hold on. I can't remember. I need to remember. I will remember this, and I will meet you. I will see your joke, and I will raise you a joke next time because it was a good one. I think it'd be perfect for it.
Okay.
Josh, where can they find us?
They find us at the RDA Strength System on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You can also find our podcasting Facebook group, The Lifting Lounge, if you want to ask us any questions about the podcast. We're also on YouTube, The Lifting Lounge Podcast. If you can see us now, hello. And also look at our website, www.therdsystem.com, to find out anything about the RDA System app where you can train now.
Oh, yeah. And guys, I've already said this at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. Like, share, hit the notification bell. Make sure you give us love because we do this for free, purely in the expectation that we're going to give you some value. If you want to give us some value, buy our shit by visiting the website that Josh talked about. But until next time, this has been episode 97, Josh.
Oof. Almost
97. What date does that put episode 100 at? Let's have a quick look.
Christmas. Is it Christmas Day? Please tell me it's Christmas Day.
Oh, shit, it might be. So, which one is the one that just came out?
Oh, no, it's not Christmas Day. It's fucking soon, isn't it? The one that just came out was one that's coming out tomorrow.
95 is tomorrow. 96 is Monday. So
Monday the 4th is the 6th. 96. So then it'll be 98. 100 is the 18th of December.
Okay. Okay. Oh, literally the week before Christmas. So Christmas Day will be episode 102.
Christmas come early, people. Episode 100.
Yeah, damn right it is. I guess we're still releasing an episode on Christmas Day. Let's do an episode on Christmas Day. That'd be fun. Sweet. Okay. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you soon.
Bye.